So I did a video yesterday, but I need to give some background, for people who don't know how the authorization process works, or what I've seen anyways. So these companies hire nurses, MD, whoever it is. And what they do is they screen the codes, they look at the age, blah, blah, blah. And it just depends on that day. If it happens to be, Dr. A, who have seen this before, and he's like, yeah, that's fine, approve the surgery. Versus if you have Dr. B, who, it's like, I don't know, wherever he picked it up from, was like, no, you can't do this. So then they just deny, right? It makes the whole process painful because it costs, if you ask any physician, prior authorization is one of the most painful things. So that's kind of the background and how it works. Is now they may have no experience in urology whatsoever, but keep in mind that, and this is more of a tragedy, the insurance company, I get it. They're out there to make money, the more they can save, just, y'all don't believe me, just look up how much private insurance makes and then how much, middleman who manages like Medicare or Medicaid. Just look at how much they make. Basically, a third of the cost goes to the middleman. But anyways, from savings. Now, when you apply for these jobs, because I was approached I looked into it, it literally says on paper, you don't get paid more for denying stuff. But, come on now, we all know how it works. I never took a finance class, but it's all number and cents, right? So anyways, that's the whole point of peer-to-peer, is you try to explain. So, you explain to this person on the other line. I have no idea what they do. But, bear in mind, they go on these guidelines. Well, first of all, guidelines are like for diabetes. There's certain stuff guidelines can fit nicely. But keep in mind, just like with PSA, when they do a guideline, it's supposed to cover 90% of the population or whatever that that magic number is, and the rest of the 10%, you kind of have to make a judgment call. Because guidelines don't fit 100%. I mean, unfortunately, the human body is not like a Honda Accord where you can actually have a guideline that's almost 100%, right? So, number two, if I was bright, I would have went into one of the fields that does a lot of guidelines, but guidelines require math and all that. I'm just not good at that. I'm a plumber. So, penis, I hate to say it, but, the maximum math I need to do is measure the measurement, but, it doesn't matter. There's really no true guideline that goes, well, you have to be more curved than 30%. That's what you call a consensus among us. But, I can tell you have I see this every day. You have a child his penis only curved 20%. He pees the left side. Well, you're going to get that fixed. Now, children, they never disapprove. It's more the adults, because their theory is, well, if you had a problem, why didn't your parents take care of it and you made it this long? Well, no, because I see patients of all age, and a lot of them, either the parents didn't have insurance at the time, they didn't seek care, they were embarrassed, who knows, whatever. But now it all comes to light. But just because you were late in the game doesn't mean you can't get it fixed, right? I mean, that's just what medicine is. Who knows what their accessibility was in the first place. So anyways, but here's the ludicrous. So, my fellow colleagues who basically, quote unquote, are culprits with the insurance company, shame on you. You really should, if it's outside of your specialty and you hear the doctor and you understand how prior authorization just killing little practices, you should be ashamed of yourself. That's the whole reason why, the insurance company is taking over, and medicine is the way it is. So if anything, you when you talk to the other physician and you hear them out, if it makes sense, well, medicine doesn't have to be complicated, and it really does just need to make sense, especially penis. If you don't see, if you don't see how the penis works and just the way it's described, hey, it's crooked this degree, this and I don't even, I would never trust you as a doctor, first of all, because that should be the easiest thing to understand. But anyways, I digress. So my whole point is this, but that's not the ludicrous part, okay? Now, this is before they decided, okay, we'll do a second peer-to-peer, which wastes my time, wastes probably the other person's time, unless the other person's just full-time doing this, but most of the time they're not. To explain, the crookedness and why it needs to be fixed. And, when he pees, it's just flipping everywhere. You got to wipe it down. I don't know about you, but in my house, I don't want a toilet area that's like the public area where there's urine everywhere. And, mine, aside from that, the mental anguish, blah, blah, blah from the patient. But this is the ludicrous part. Okay, so they're like, well, we can't approve you for the curve, and we can't approve you for the shortened look of the penis to make it look normal, blah, blah, blah. But we'll approve you for the circumcision. At that point, I mean, obviously it's not FaceTime. They can't see me on the other side. I just shake my head and I go, if I wanted to tell him that, but in my head, I was like, okay, so you got a guy with a crooked penis, and sometimes you need the foreskin to reconstruct it, because once you straighten out the penis, now you're going to rarely hear me talk about geometry because I don't know much about it. But basically, when you straighten it out one side, you're going to have longer on one side, shorter on the other, whatever it may be, up, down, left, right. Well, you're going to need that skin, right? Now, you circumcise him priorly. And then number two, later on, let's say he ends up coming with cash, or he has a different insurance company that's like, oh, of course, yes, you need to approve this. Then basically, because I do a lot of these, they come back, and then now you got to try to, the original surgery that should have been approved now is approved. And now I'm trying to yank his, pull his penis out, anchor everything down. Well, where are you going to get the skin? People always talk about, well, just use a skin graft. No, penis skin is very different from my face skin, my arm skin, whatnot. So here's the ludicrous part, and like I said, I don't know what he does, what field, to some sort of healthcare. He goes, well, we'll approve the circumcision. Lordy, you approve the circumcision. I wanted to tell him, okay, I'll do the circumcision and really just shortchange the guy. And then basically next time the guy's going to, keep in mind, penis is a very high liability procedure, penis surgery. So the guy then gets finally approved, because now they're going to really approve it, because he's like, whoa, my penis is messed up. And, there's actually no ICD code for a messed up penis, but there's something similar. But basically when you have that, the person on the other line is like, oh no, messed up penis, you got to get it fixed. Now he's going to come back to me. He goes, hey, Dr. Pham, we read a lot of good reviews about you. Why'd you ended up doing this botch surgery? You get what I'm saying? And so it's either you approve the whole thing or you don't, but there's a rationale for why you do things in combination. And I bring this up because, generally speaking, 95% of the time they always get approved. It just depends on who's on the other line. But I really want people who are thinking about doing this, where, they're kind of looking at guidelines and stuff, which I don't think there's anything wrong with, for the insurance company to see if you'll approve a CAT scan or whatever. Either, know your limitation, and you have to think of this as a whole and not just that one piece of surgery. So, for instance, exactly in this scenario, if you just approve the circumcision and a urologist who doesn't deal a lot with fixing botched penises goes ahead, well, that's all they approve, so we'll just do that. Then you see the whole ramifications of later, how it goes down the line of, well, why didn't you fix it right the first time? So, I tell the patient, I said, listen, if all they're going to approve for you is a circumcision, you have two options. Unfortunately, but now I'm going to try to do what I can for you, but in terms of trying to get it authorized. But either you have to pay for the right surgery, or you go I'll have to refer you out to another doctor and find a urologist or general surgeon, whoever, that will just do a circumcision. And I told him otherwise, you may have to pay just the cash portion for the other part, which, I'll just charge him cheap. But the problem is you also have the hospital component you have to deal with, right, in terms of cost. So it's not as easy as just you know, well, here, you just pay me X amount of dollar and I'll take care of this. You know, the hospital has to get paid for their end because, you know, staffing, longer case, sutures, whatnot. You know, everyone gets the gist. But anyways, you know, I think my best way to kind of, you know, kind of bring all these idiocracies in medicines to light is, you know, I think I kind of enjoy doing these little mini videos so patients can really see how the inner workings of medicine will work and how ludicrous it really is. Don't get me wrong, a lot of them is good. You know, you really shouldn't be CT scanning children left and right, you know, but like I said, you know, it all boils down to guidelines, right? And, you know, and if there is no guideline, you know, you got to start to learn how to think outside the box when you approve these things, you know. But anyway, so that's kind of I wanted to add this to the other video so that it kind of makes a lot more sense.